Welcome to a new edition of the Famous Interviews with Joe Dimino. On this episode, we talk with energy healer, Reiki teacher, sound healer, and intuition teacher, Heceliza Perez. After leaving her corporate job in fashion and advertising in New York City, she became a serial entrepreneur while living in the countries of Bali, Mexico, and Costa Rica, connecting with the land, culture, and traditions of the people, learning over healing modalities to use in her practice along the way. She is passionate about teaching generational cycle breakers to connect deeply with their energy and intuition to achieve inner peace, balance, and clarity. Through her intuitive guidance, she empowers others to release what no longer serves them, embrace the unknown with confidence, and embody their most empowered and authentic selves. It's quite a story. Enjoy.
So it's great to meet you, and I'd love to begin our conversation before we get into your healing work by asking you about something that's been rather momentous in our lives, which was surviving the pandemic. So 4 years ago, we were trying to figure out the ramifications, how long it was going to last, all the particulars, and I'm curious, how did you survive that time period, and how did it change the way that you approach your work now?
Oh, it changed it a lot. So it kind of blends personal and professional because a lot of things we had to go online, right? Zoom blew up. Everybody had to go online for work meetings. But in my work, I was used to such in-person things because it's with Reiki hands-on healing. You know, in person, people like to do things in person. It's kind of like saying you were going to get a massage, but for your inside, but in person. And so when we were confined to our homes and all that, although I was taught about distance healing and I knew it, it was just not put into practice so much because we could be in person. And then I had to figure out this distance healing and offer it to people, and then find out because we were in the pandemic, more people needed healing and some kind of like stress relief more than anything. So with that being online, I was able to realize what a global reach I could have. So I was, by word of mouth, getting clients in London, New York, Australia, Vietnam. And then even for myself, personally, I was also trying to find ways to, boost my own morale, enhance my well-being. So even for myself, I saw the importance. It was online. I was getting together with friends, and we would meet on Zoom and hit recording for a workout on YouTube together and work out together, but in our spaces, and even breath work. And that's how today I'm now a breathwork facilitator. But through the pandemic, I belonged to a women's breathwork circle, and I would join like every other week and breathe, and that really helped ground me and get me to a place of centeredness in especially that 1 year of the time of unknowing.
So let's get to the heart and soul of exactly what you do for a living on a daily basis. I'm going to put you in front of a bunch of third graders at career day, and one of the curious kids says, "Hey, what do you do for a living?" How would you explain it to that child?
I help you to really connect with your body through your breath, by your hands and connecting with your body. And I also use sound. And the sound instruments help the vibration and help your body get to a place of rest. If you ever feel a little bit like your emotions are getting out of hand, you're feeling a little nervous or, overwhelmed, I help you understand how to get your body back to a place of being calm and centered and balanced within yourself.
So when you were in the third grade, what was your dream to grow up and become?
When I was in the third grade, so I grew up in a Filipino household, so born to immigrant parents from the Philippines, raised in the U.S. Like any typical Asian American, you were raised to either, you could be a doctor or a lawyer, and that were your only options. So I'm like, okay, I'm a lawyer, and and then they're like, well, you just can't be a lawyer, you have to like strive for the best. I'm like, I'm going to be a Supreme Court judge, and that's in third grade what I thought.
Wow. So talk to me about, that's great. And I'm curious, talk to me a little bit about where you were raised here in the States and how you got to the point where you got into Reiki and you got into energy healing and helping people. How did all of those seeds get planted to grow into who you are today?
Well, so how I was, like I said, and kind of that goes into who I work with today, is a lot of what I call first-generation cycle breakers, but that could be anybody, but I seem to also attract a lot of kids of immigrants because we grew up in households where our parents probably came from one culture, right? But they came to the U.S. for their future families to have a better life, especially that was seen in the 70s and 80s, coming to America, the American dream, and provide their kids everything, but with the values of their culture, like strict Filipino, Catholic, conservative family inside the house, then going into school with westernized friends of all different, ethnicities, or parents that had generations of already being in the U.S. So with that is that I think, and this is what I speak to, of an added pressure to be the best in school, because then you want to go to the best college and have the best job, and that is how they knew to provide security for us in the future. And I think what that happens is, and it kind of brings me to where I am, how I got into energy healing today is I grew up, and often people do, with these traits and characteristics to strive to be, quote unquote, whatever that is, successful, or whatever their parents and society deemed successful, which added layers of conditioning us to, strive for the best. But I think I positively reinforced these things in myself growing up, that later as an adult, I'm turning around and I'm like, okay, this is not right to equate being stressful equals success, or, that overachieving means that you're not sleeping, you're doing all this work, you're working so hard to achieve something, and your adrenals and your nervous system is shocked, and you're currently stressed, and all these things, you're not taking maybe care of yourself and your well-being, because you have this idea that you need to reach a certain amount of success. And so, and with that, and as a female, and even males, I feel like, especially climbing the corporate ladder, because I came from corporate, and we are constantly operating in our masculine. And now in this work that I do is also helping people to, kind of break those cycles. So break the cycles of maybe not with, it stops here, and maybe that transfers into their kids, of how they can maybe not reinforce the way their parents enforce, or their parents, and do it in a more conscious way of understanding these effects of like pressure on kids and how that translates to you as an adult. And maybe it's, you take on that pressure and it's not such a positive thing after all, and you can handle it in different ways. And living in your masculine, where you can find that balance and bringing in that feminine. And I don't mean to be feminine, but feminine meaning there's just a balance within our energies that living in your masculine for so long can deplete you, and it deplete in your nervous system. So even though I went to corporate, lived my dream of working in corporate fashion, New York City, all of that, I think how I fell into my purpose is I woke up one day and I was just for myself, I was like not helping the world one fashion handbag at a time. So I'm like, what else is there? What can I do? And in that same time, I was kind of over living in New York, and so fell into my partner then. We started living around the world, because he was an entrepreneur, so he could work from his laptop anywhere. So I was kind of reverse engineering that. I'm like, what careers or jobs or businesses can I do where I can just wake up anywhere in the world from my laptop? And a place we ended up in a lot and really gravitating towards was Bali. So in Bali, I learned all of these healing techniques practices for wellness, your well-being. And as I started to learn this just for myself, like a technique as Reiki, and now I'm a Reiki teacher. When I first learned Reiki is because I walked into somewhere and they put their hands on me, and my nervous system instantly calmed down. And I was like, what did you do? And I'm like, if I could learn this in a weekend of hands-on technique where I can just place my hands on myself, take deep breaths, and instantly calm my nervous system down, I want to learn it. So I started to learn that and realized how over the years it really helped make me just a calmer person overall, more grounded. And then I started giving it to others and realizing how fulfilled it was to help other people like de-stress, calm down, come to a place of centeredness, and help like guide them and like strengthen their intuition.
So talk to me a little bit about, inspirations or heroes in your career. Who has that been for you?
Oh, in my career.
Or even overall. I mean, I think the Venn diagram really definitely kind of leads into each other. So just overall, who has that been for you?
My father is a big inspiration. It's like he from like, I think 17, he joined the U.S. Navy, left his entire family. He was the youngest of 8 and left for a better life to take care of his family in the Philippines, because even though he was the youngest, he was the one that had the more opportunity. And he's just been a very selfless person, serving and I saw it growing up, just volunteering left and right, serving people with his heart. And I think that translates into how I'm like, this is my purpose too, to help other people. It's just in a different way, but help them see, help them to get to a more aligned self, to their better selves. And then also, they're not existent now, but I do tap into, we speak about, working with intergenerational trauma, but also ancestral work. So I say if people don't buy into the whole, having spirit guides or there's guardian, other people have spirit animals or guardian angels, everybody has ancestors, and their ancestors and their blood, the DNA lives within all of us. So I actually tap into that a lot because I found through my mom's side, her great-grandmother, I come from a line of healers. Her grandmother was a healer in the village and so on. And so when I tap into that energy, it's incredible. I can't make this up, but the stories of the downloads of things wisdom and guidance I've gotten from my ancestors and support through just their spirit.
Wow, that's amazing. Yeah, we definitely are connected. So if you can meet one person alive on the planet right now that you find absolutely fascinating or that you could glean something from them, who would it be? Who would you love to meet and talk to?
I would want to talk to have guidance from Deepak Chopra. He's somebody that has globally inspired influencers in the world, and yet I've seen him also be a mentor to people who aren't famous and who are starting in the healing space, spiritual space. So I just think that he would have a lot of advice to give, but also being able to see from a very global perspective of what the world needs and how to best lend my gifts out there.
So how do you find that balance between helping people and evolving and taking care of yourself? What is that balance for you to find? Because you have to give a lot of yourself to do this. How do you get that? How do you find that balance?
Yeah. So when I first discovered specifically Reiki, and this is why I love this practice, and now I teach it. I teach other people Reiki. And people would ask me this, they're like, aren't you depleted by it? Because I'm giving for the better. I'm not using up my energy. I'm just a channel for life force energy to flow to me, to you. And with that, I'm receiving so much energy. And then when I'm helping somebody else heal, it actually, instead of depleting me, gives me so much energy. And I've done, for so long, I have my own practices to help, protect me during that time, so I'm not, like, say, taking on negative energy. So I think when you're in your life purpose and doing the work that you love and is giving back at the same time, for me, it's not depleting, it's not giving, it's like recharging me. And when I'm in sessions, healing or teaching, it's like the student becomes my teacher as well. I'm learning so much. I'm actually healing as well. So I'm just very fulfilled. So within that, I'm getting my own healing and growing as a teacher and as a person.
What has been one of your favorite client success stories?
I do work with, and this is a little more tangible, I do work with patients that are going through chemotherapy because they've been diagnosed with cancer. And I'm not saying that, this is not a replacement for any like Western treatments, but at the same time, while they're going through chemo, while it is a very stressful, highly, causes them to be highly anxious because of what they're going through, right? And the effects, especially with chemo, just to be there with them side by side and help them at least mentally and emotionally through their anxiety, through the stress, and then see them come out on the other side with their cancer removed, but in a better headspace. And also because that's kind of they've hit somewhere in their life where it's like, oh, you have to reassess your life and what everything means to you. It's to be able to help them guide that, so then they come out of it with a different outlook on life, reprioritizing things, a whole new person. That is just so rewarding.
So talk to me a little bit about what you're the proudest of. Of all of these things that you've done and accomplished in your career, what are you ultimately the proudest of?
I'm saying I'm an energy healer is not far from my corporate job in fashion and advertising that people would have said to be proud of, or far from when I was younger saying I was going to be a Supreme Court judge. Saying I am an energy healer and I energetically help people to, strengthen their intuition, connect with their own energy. It's not something maybe a lot of your listeners have heard of, or your everyday person. Even if I bump into people from my past, sometimes it's like deer in headlights. But I'm proud that I've stuck to my own path, really felt what was in my heart was true, and always followed that, even if it wasn't. I've always done things that were a little against the grain, not your, typical trajectory in life, but I've followed what I feel is in my heart. It's everything I give stems from love and well-intentions, and as long as I can always do that with every action I do, not just with work, but anything that I feel like that is why I'm here, and I'm going to, even if it's just helping one person at a time, I'm helping the humanity as a whole. Really hard being a human these days on this planet. So
yeah, I get it. I totally get it. So let me ask you this: what's the best advice you've ever gotten?
Just ask the universe. I just heard that from somebody last week, and I was like, all you have to do is just ask out loud, whether it's, you believe in God, a source, the universe. All you have to do is just keep asking. And I'm like, oh, I don't even ask. That is right. Have that conversation out loud. Go for a walk. Have a talk.
So let's say you have a dream tonight. You run into the 18-year-old version of you, and you can give that young version of you a piece of advice based on the life you lived, the wisdom you've gained. What advice would you give your younger self?
Just keep doing what you're doing, and don't have a doubt that your instincts, your intuition is right. It really doesn't matter what society or what's on social media, or I guess it wasn't social media back then. It doesn't matter what those around you are doing or saying, or is the popular vote or thing that's popular. Just do what's in your heart, follow that, and as long as you do, you will be happy. You will find whatever you deem is success, and everything will fall into place.
So let's say we get off this call and a time machine pulls up in front of your house, and you can either go back in time and see one event in human history, or you can go into the future to see what's going on. Where are you going to go? What do you want to see?
I want to go in the far, far future because I'm really interested in where the planet's going to be, humanity and technology, and I don't think I won't be alive for it. So I would love to jump ahead even 100 years and just kind of see. I would speak to my partner all the time. I'm like, I'm going to be sad not to see how more evolved we're going to get, and are all the wars going to stop? Is the humans on this planet going to achieve what is the highest vibration of frequency and just operate from love? And when everybody can do that, all the trauma, the hate, the war, the sadness, the grief should dissipate.
So at the end of the day, everyone has a perception of you. Family, friends, clients, everyone in your life, but you ultimately run the show. What's your perception of you? Who do you think you are?
I'm that observer, the observer who's there to listen with their heart, guide people when they want to be through leading by example, and just living my life with such intentions, integrity, honor, and love, that's enough to show those around me and inspire those around me.
So if anyone wants to hire you, reach out, learn more about you, any of the good business, where's the best place to go?
Yeah, I'd be happy to. I'm actually just put out dates for an online Reiki training. So if anybody, you don't have to learn Reiki, and I didn't know this when I did it. It's just over a weekend, and you don't need to want to be a healer or, have that be your career. You could just learn it just for yourself to help regulate your own nervous system. That's launching in a month, so you can find me at my first name, Heceliza.com, and I'm most active on Instagram, which my handle is at Heceliza_energy healing.
Beautiful. Heceliza, this has been wonderful. Thank you for your story. Thank you for your energy and good time. I really appreciate it.
Thank you so much, Joe, and sending you and all your listeners all positive, loving energy.
Thanks for tuning in to another famous interview with Joe Dimino, where we cover the world of art, literature, business, spirituality, music, and more from around the globe. Our esteemed theme music was composed and produced by the great E.E. Pointer of Kansas City's River Cow Orchestra. If you want to hear more interviews, visit the Famous Interviews with Joe Dimino channel on YouTube. You can also find us on Spotify and Apple Podcasts. Thanks again for listening, and until next time.